Well, before we talk about CD8 and the latest polling, let's a few comments, John, about Jack Camper talking about the kickoff of Proposition 401, the charter change. He feels it's something definitely that this city needs. Do you think it has a shot?
Well, the Southern Arizona Leadership Council put a lot of effort into this. They truly did go out to the entire community and try to get a feel for what people wanted from a charter change. Charter's many years old, 1929. It's outdated, outmoded, and we ought to take a look at changing it. Of course, what's the anchor on it is the idea we're going to increase council people's salary, bring them to somewhat of a relationship to a board of supervisor, make them truly full-time. But we will save money holding the elections every 4 years other than 2. If you vote yes on 401, it will not cost you another dime than what we're paying already. You may say, well, we're paying too much already. But there should not be a cost factor built into your decision about supporting these charter changes. I think they would be very good for Tucson, but I do think it has a real problem because it does increase council people's salary, and I'm not so sure we're in the mood to do that.
Yeah, the perception, people see that, you wonder.
But will people see it? And that's the question. This has a remarkably wide range of support. You've got a lot of Democrats behind it, and you have the Southern Arizona leadership behind it, and you have the chamber behind it. It's a big umbrella supporting this thing. And so unless an opposition campaign comes together, and so far it's been a pretty weak opposition campaign, I don't see it having too much trouble.
What do you think?
Well, I think Jim makes a good point that it depends on what people focus on, and it depends on what the campaign can get people to focus on. But I believe if people take a look at those salary increases, that's going to torpedo the whole thing.
And the half-cent sales tax, so that's a different matter.
I think that's a really tough sell at this point. I mean, the city of Tucson clearly has had some very serious drops in revenue over the last few years, as has every other government. And if it does not pass, the fact that it is, you are going to have to cut quite a bit from what the city already does.
Well, the threat to cut 200 police officers, close 3 fire stations, cut paramedics, impose a media tax, which I'm just thrilled about, strikes me as a real threat, not only to the public safety of Tucson, but to the business sense of this town. But there's a real feeling from the city manager's office that if you do not, and we're talking about the people of Tucson, pass this tax, we will cut these public safety jobs. And I don't think that's going to be a popular move. I truly don't. I think people are going to rebel against that. I mean, we have a record murder rate, 14 murders in the last 45 days. We could have an all-time killing high in Tucson, and you want to cut cops? Makes no sense.
I'll tell you what else doesn't make sense, though, is at the moment the Tucson Police Department is having a big crackdown on pedestrians and bicyclists in the downtown area at the same time as they are dealing with these homicides.
Let's talk about the CD8 race. There's been a couple of polls that came out here. This looks like it's going to be a very close race.
Well, it does look like it's going to be a close race. I think people underestimated Jesse Kelly in the primary, and I think it would be a big mistake for the Giffords campaign if they underestimated him again. I don't think they're going to. Just as an interesting aside, we had Congresswoman Giffords into the editorial board of the Arizona Republic on Tuesday. Jesse Kelly was supposed to join her, but he did not come. He canceled in the morning. I don't know what the reason was, but it's interesting. It would have been a nice opportunity to see the two of them together. I hope that the public gets a lot of opportunities to see the two of them together.
I think the public will probably get 3 opportunities to see the two of them together in 3 separate debates, but I do think Gabrielle Giffords has cause to be worried because this is really shaping up as a Republican year. There's a lot of discontent towards the Democratic leadership of the country right now, and there's this huge enthusiasm gap out there that the Republicans are much more eager to go vote than Democrats are, and independents are leaning towards Republicans. That said, I think the key, if the Democrats are going to win this, is to define Jesse Kelly as an extremist, which is what they are doing with their commercials right now.
I think if you took away the Michelle Bachmann talking points from Jesse Kelly, he'd look like our governor in a gubernatorial debate with her opponent. He would have nothing to say. It's so easy to take these points that appeal to the anger and the anxiety of the American people in these difficult times. It's a lot more difficult to do, as Gabrielle Giffords has done, to try to legislate change and try to improve the lives of people so badly affected by this recession. I don't think Jesse Kelly has an original thought in his head. I don't think he's an intellectual by any stretch of the imagination. I think he's totally unqualified to go to Congress. But then you take a look at the folks, some of them we have in Congress, and you think, well, let's just send one of your pets. rather than, somebody next door. So
I'm not sure that the public is in the mood for intellectuals. I think certainly the evidence that the governor's popularity has increased after her moments of silence and her terrible performance in the debate. She is clearly not on the intellectual level of Terry Goddard. But that isn't what people are looking for right now. People are very angry, and they are looking for the sound bites.
But if you want your children to be smart, don't you want your governor to be smart? I mean,
I-
why would you want
I
a
do.
higher education for your child and no education for your governor?
Well, and
Figure it out.
we're
I don't get
arguing
it.
about whether teachers are proficient enough in English to be teaching, and we have a governor who mangles the language on a regular basis.
What do you think about that poll that came out? I think a lot of people were surprised after the governor's famous infamous 13 or 16-second pause. That I think maybe the Goddard people thought they'd pick up a little traction in the polling. It didn't show that way.
Well, it was a Rasmussen poll, so they've come under fire for leaning Republican in the first place many times in the past. So there's some question about the validity, and it was also within the margin of error of what we had before. So I think a lot is being made out of that. I don't think that was a real game changer.
Now, only 30 seconds left, Linda. We want to call attention to your column, a fine column in Sunday's Republic last week. Sadly, moderate Republicans are becoming endangered.
Well, they are becoming an endangered species, and I think that's very unfortunate for Arizona. I think moderate Republicans were provided a pragmatic voice for the business community, for commerce, for education, and it's become the case at the legislature where compromise is a dirty word, and I don't think that's a good way to run a government.
Okay, we got to go. Thanks a lot.